Hi again, I'm back. So part 2. So when I started to do autographs, that was all I did, so to speak, and then the faces start to come in. I mentioned that in the last video talk I did for you. So when I'm coming home from Toronto in Canada, I started practicing even more. And I used to do a couple of portraits before the demonstration. And at the demonstration then, I asked if they could recognize it with the information I had. And sometimes they could, sometimes they couldn't. And I remember at that time that it was quite hard work, because at that time when I started to do the portrait, I was still in the experimental mood, and we haven't found our blending together, me and the artist who's working with me from the spirit world. So usually, you know, like when I'm doing it today, it takes about 8 to 10 minutes to do a portrait on the stage. When I was doing this at home, I started maybe to spend half an hour on each picture. And in the end, I still didn't feel that I was good enough. And my perfectionism also set in. So, and if I feel it from the spirit world, you know, I haven't done this one right, I could spend 4 or 5 hours on a picture and still wasn't happy. So instead of working maybe a couple of hours before I'm gonna start to do my demonstration, I started by going up 8, 9, 10 o'clock in the morning to make sure I had 2 good portraits before the end of the day when we're gonna demonstrate. So that became quite stressful, and it was quite emotionally tiring as well. So, and another thing who made me change here was that if I done a picture and they couldn't recognize it at the spot, some people say that maybe they didn't show up, maybe they was on the way here, but maybe they didn't show up. But for me, you know, that's a cop-out. You can hide behind everything, but for me it's very important that I don't fool myself, that I'm doing it properly. So that's when I decided to start that even if I'm only doing 1 portrait, I'm gonna do it on the stage half an hour before we start a demonstration. That's when I stood up with my easel and start to draw a picture. And it's funny because if I go forward now a couple of years, sometimes when I'm drawing the picture, in the beginning I had a tendency to overdo it. When I was working, and at that time I was my own medium working with my mediumship, no one worked with me, I did everything by myself. And I could say, I have a man here, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, it's my dad to a T. I recognize him so well. You've done a perfect job. But before I was finished, I messed it up, you know. So I didn't know where to stop, so to speak. And sometimes, I remember especially one time, I was drawing a dad and the recipient said, yes, that's my dad, I can see him. Then I started to talk, when I came to the end of it, about the message that her dad was very pleased that she found a new love in her life and blah, blah, blah. And towards the end, I'm drawing the new boyfriend instead. So for me, it's when I'm working with spirit art, I can just as well go down and work with the psychic energy. So it's just as important to stick to the mediumistic energy when I'm working as it is when you do normal communication. It's so much easier to draw energy from a living person than it is from the other side. And here it's about keeping your mind in focus and not wobble. And over the years, I actually noticed that sometimes when I draw a man or a woman, and I might be drawing grandmother, for example, but it's the mom I'm working with. So I noticed that my limitations, because I can't draw, I have to trust the spirit world with the inspiration when I'm drawing. That I noticed today that I'm drawing the one in the family I can get the best likeness of. So I have to be aware when I'm working there then to not take for granted that this is your mom. If that's the one I'm speaking about, I can actually draw someone else. And in the beginning, I could have half mom and half grandma in the picture, you know, because my mind isn't focused enough. Because when you're doing the communication to the spirit world and also doing the art, it's like you're leaping in and out all the time. Move forward quite quickly here, because I just want to say that some people keep holding on to the security blanket, so to speak. We as human beings, we like to be reassured that what we're doing is correct. So when you're working with the spirit, you know, you want to feel them, and you want to really be aware of that this is the person I'm drawing now, and this is what I'm feeling. But like I said, it's trial and error for everybody, and everybody work in their unique way. But for me, the less I actually focusing on the picture I'm doing, the better it will come up. So if I start to talk with someone beside me, just talking about the weather or what they're going through in their life, and I'm drawing at the same time, I will probably do the best picture and the best likeness, because I'm putting my mind out of what I'm doing and just let the energy guide me. And like my spirit artist always said to me, the picture is already there, Mia. And most of the people, when they see me start working, they could actually see the face before it actually have come forward. And he says that because it's there, you actually just have to bring it forward. So I'm sculpturing it forward, so to speak. And yeah, they experimented a lot. At one time, I could actually see the face properly on, like I see you, on the paper. And I thought, yay, I can just fill it in. But now I can't, because I can't draw. So I messed that one up. And sometimes they gave me an image in my mind, so like a huge nose. And it was not that they had a huge nose towards the end. It was just that it should be a little bit bigger. It was a lot of trials and errors. But today, these fingers, sorry, my nail-bitten fingers, they are my pencils, they are my crayons, they are my pastels. And I'm not focusing on the whole face when I'm drawing. I just focus on one little bit at a time and just trusting it will work. And when I work with mediumship, I usually am not nervous. But when I work with spirit art, I can be very, very nervous. And that's because when you've done the picture, you can't change it. Oh, if if they say, no, it's not my mom because she had long hair, you know, okay, I fix it. No. Or I done long hair and they say, no, she had short hair. And I go, no, it grow out in the spirit world. No, I'm kidding. But you can't change anything. What you've done is done, and you have to own up to it. But with mediumship, you're learning so much as well. So if I say that your mom probably died from cancer and they go, no, she didn't, I still can go back and learn something from that. I know I'm not totally wrong with what I felt. I just interpreted it wrong. So if I feel something over my chest area, it not just has to be a heart attack or anxiety. It's so much more to it, because every time I get a no, I learn something more. So my, how do you say, I pretend I'm traveling with a suitcase, and for every time I make a connection with the spirit world and I learn something, I fill that up. So the more I'm working, the more I'm practicing, the more understanding I have of the energy. So another thing I want to share with you with spirit art is that actually sometimes, you know, you don't know the purpose of what you're doing. And I think I face my biggest ego when it comes to spirit art, because yes, you want them to say, yeah, it's a really good likeness and all sorts of things. But sometimes you're actually drawing for someone who is not there. And it's not often you get feedback, but sometimes you do. And that really reassures you. But I also want to say what saved me a lot of time is that I'm actually gifted enough to see energy. So when I don't feel anything and I just have the trust, I'm lucky enough to see most of the time energy bouncing around on the paper. So I know something is working. And I think that saved me a lot of time for not doubting myself to death with it. Because it is a hard work. We don't have that many brilliant spirit artists in the world, because it takes years and years of practice, and it's also dedication, and also you have to deal with your ego. So I'm going to finish up with a beautiful story. This is a long time ago, and it's probably 30 years, no, 25, because I've been working about 30. So 25 years ago or something, and I had a student come in, and I do the sitting, and I brought in her dad, and she could take all the information, but when I showed her the picture, she said, no, it's not my dad, not whatsoever. Long story short, but when she came home, she put the picture on the table, her mom comes in, and there and then they realized that I've been drawing her real father, which she didn't knew existed. So sometimes you don't know what the spirit is up to up there, so you have to trust a lot. But it is hard when they say I don't recognize it, and you have to say bring the picture with you, because it might be someone else in the family does or something. And of course you want the yeses immediately. But there you go, a little bit of my spirit art, and yeah, there's so much to tell about it, but I'm not gonna talk so you get blisters in your ears. But anyway, have a beautiful week. Bye.